Trick or Treat on Monster Street. Written by Danny Schlitzling, illustrated by Matt Faulkner. I used to be a scaredy cat, afraid to sleep in my own bed. Late at night when things went bump, I'd conjure monsters in my head. My brothers knew my weakness well. Every time they got the chance, they'd think of ways to make me scream and laugh when I would wet my pants. But now I've changed. I laugh at ghosts. Monsters fill me with delight. It happened, as you might have guessed, one dark and spooky Halloween night. A mummy stomped inside my room. A snarling werewolf marched in too. "Come on," my older brothers growled. "Dad says to trick or treat with you." I pulled my rabbit costume on. They laughed like mad when I was done. "A bunny suit?" my brothers joked. "That costume won't scare anyone." They grabbed my hands and off we ran to trick or treat from door to door. When people handed candy out, my greedy brothers grabbed for more. We took a shortcut through the woods. I stopped to tie my tennis shoe. I stood and found myself alone. I called out, "Guys?" An owl said, "Who?" I stumbled blindly through the dark and tried to blink away my tears. Two trees reached out to rip my suit. Another snatched my bunny ears. A creature howled out in the night. A road appeared beneath my feet. The moon glowed full and round and bright. A weathered sign said, "Monster Street." Lightning flashed. Thunder boomed. A freezing rain began to pour. I sprinted quickly to the nearest house and pounded on the heavy door. The deadbolt clicked. The door squeaked open. Inch by inch, an arm reached out. I opened up my goodie bag. The arm dropped in a smelly trout. I fled next door and knocked once more. That door creaked open just a crack. A slimy tentacle snaked out and dropped some spiders in my sack. I turned around and nearly screamed. Another kid was standing there, but something didn't look quite right. His skin, his eyes, his nose, his hair. Green fingers gripped his chin and pulled. His face began to stretch and peel. The human face was just a mask. The monster underneath was real. And when that monster shed his coat, I got another big surprise. A larger creature lurked beneath, with fangs and horns and gruesome eyes. "My name is Ed," the big guy said. The little one growled, "Call me Gus. Your costume is the best we've seen. Why don't you trick or treat with us?" I wondered if they'd eat me up when they found out I wore no mask. I shook their claws and faked a smile. I prayed that they would never ask. We filled our sacks with squirming snacks. Gus gobbled down a wriggling snake. Ed offered me a slug. I said, "No thanks, I've got a tummy ache." At last we reached the street's dead end. A sign said, "House of Fear, beware." It looked just like my house back home. I wondered what went on in there. The house was filled with monster folks dressed up to look like humans do. Gus and Ed were terrified. They stuck to me like super glue. Cuddly little bunnies hopped and playful kittens pranced about. When barking puppy dogs appeared, my monster friends screamed, "Let us out!" A squeaky staircase led us down, and on the bottom floor we found a monster party going on 100 feet below the ground. Mummies sang and werewolves crooned. 2 vampires did the chicken dance. And once I think I might have seen my history teacher, Mr. Lance. "I'm Gertie," said a monster girl. She pulled me on the floor to dance. We did the cha-cha and the twist until I nearly split my pants. We joked and laughed and sang some songs, and finally I began to see that though we came from different worlds, those monster kids were just like me. A cyclops with a microphone said, "Every vampire, witch, and ghost, put on your mask. It's time to see which costume makes us scream the most." A drum roll buzzed, the crowd grew hushed, a spotlight roamed around the place, and when at last it came to rest, that beam was shining on my face. The monster's chair. I took the prize, a heavy squirming sack. I held my breath and peeked inside. The thing inside of it looked back. The monsters formed a big parade and carried me down Monster Street. Near the woods where I'd come in, they set me down upon my feet. I heard my brothers yell my name. I said, "I've got to go. It's late." I started running toward the woods. My monster buddies yelled out, "Wait!" I hung my head, my face turned red, and I began to bawl. "I'm just a human kid," I sobbed. "I'm not a monster after all." Then Gertie grinned and laughed out loud. She said, "I knew it all along, especially when you didn't know the words to any monster song." Gus and Ed said, "We weren't fooled, 'cause back there in the house of fear, we were running for the door. You stopped and scratched a puppy's ear." I told them how my brothers liked to scare me in the dark of night. The monsters asked for my address, and then they giggled with delight. With tearful eyes, we said goodbyes. I'd made new friends that I would miss. Gertie told me, "Close your eyes," and then I got a monster kiss. I opened up my eyes to find my friends had vanished in the air. "Where have you been?" my brothers yelled. "We searched and hunted everywhere." They snatched away my goodie bag and plunged their greedy hands inside, but when they saw what I'd brought back, they screamed and wet their pants and cried. I said goodnight and doused the light. I pulled the covers to my chin. A smile crept across my face. I knew the fun would soon begin. Late that night, to my delight, I heard a scream and then a grrr. My brothers claimed 2 monsters came, or was it 3? They weren't quite sure. I used to be a scaredy cat, but I sleep soundly in my bed. And late at night, when things go bump, I think of Gertie, Gus, and Ed. I've looked again for Monster Street in battered books on tattered maps. I've walked the woods for weeks and weeks. Could it have been a dream? Perhaps. But maybe when the moon is full, you'll find that hidden passage through and trick or treat on Monster Street, where monsters are afraid of you.